Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for yielding. Ms. Lehman, I want to start by thanking you for providing such thoughtful and helpful testimony across so many different areas related to holding big tech accountable, and for calling out Snapchat in your Section 230 reform ideas. I've raised my concerns about Snapchat serving as an illegal marketplace for drugs in prior big tech hearings, and I want to continue my focus on the issue during today's hearing as well. As my colleagues may recall, I have a constituent in Hastings, Minnesota, Bridget Noring, who she and her family lost their son Devin to a fentanyl overdose and is asking us to do more. I'm here today raising her voice and that of countless other parents in hopes that we can come together and find a solution. Special Agent Duffy, thank you for what you do in law enforcement every single day to help to crack down on these illegal online sales. I strongly believe we need to give our law enforcement agencies the tools, resources, and funding they need to help protect our communities, both online and in the physical world, from dangerous drug overdoses. You may have seen recent news stories online talking about changes Snapchat was taking to curb drug dealing on the app. Under pressure from parents like Bridget and other parents who called on the CEO to do more and do better. Based on your experience, though, Agent Duffy, and in training those who use apps to conduct investigations, I'm hoping you can briefly walk us through what the current process looks like when you attempt to target a known drug dealer and hold them to account on an app like Snapchat.
Thank you, Representative. When we begin these types of investigations with companies like Snapchat, we are oftentimes the ones being provided it through a citizen that becomes concerned. And in some cases, some companies will police themselves and identify content, but ultimately they are seemingly less proactive in trying to remove some of this content and leaving it for law enforcement to become proactive on their own site, which is a challenge as we struggle with retention of law enforcement officers around the United States. So these investigations begin with us identifying a criminal activity. Then we begin to serve legal process, which becomes the first hurdle in trying to identify what the company has retained or what they haven't retained, which becomes the first struggle. And then as we progress through the app, we end up at internet service providers and cellular providers because the means of using these apps are done through mobile devices. And so the mobile device itself, through the companies that provide the service, we run again into another issue of data retention and activity that may or may not be kept, along with these criminal activities being used with a virtual private network, meaning they're using a service that ultimately hides their internet activity, in which no records are often found. So we run into many roadblocks. I say we have less successes than we have incomplete cases because of those things that I mentioned.
Special Agent Duffy, you mentioned that the Snapchat or other platforms sometimes will proactively contact law enforcement, but most of the time it's citizens who are doing the trolling on these platforms and contacting you. And I would assume that oftentimes that's because a family member has suffered some sort of catastrophic outcome or at least some harm. What do you think the responsibility of the social media platform should be in terms of being proactive on their platform?
Thank you. I think the responsibility is all in their favor. They should be the ones content moderating. They should be the ones communicating and learning from law enforcement, who's learning from kids in school and friends and family. Having that open conversation will only benefit them. Right now, we see many of the companies ignoring or not having that communication with the public and law enforcement. They think that they can, in a sense, take it upon themselves to learn it or wait to become reactive. So I think if you're going to build a platform environment for kids to operate on, then you need to be responsible for taking action and learning what to look for.
Thank you so much. Amen to that. And with that, I'm sorry I'm out of time, but
Okay.
it's a critical topic. I yield back.